This is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Welcome to the Keyed In podcast. I am your host, Brent Jackson.
And I'm Leslie Backoff.
Leslie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Go ahead.
No, it's all good.
No, we're a little off key today. Max is off skiing in the warm weather. He's out there in 60-degree sunny weather going down slopes of grass. So we'll welcome him back in a couple of weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Excellent. You just got back from a trip, right?
I did. I was traveling for about a week. I was in Portugal, in Lisbon, and in Morocco.
How was that?
It was awesome. It was, two places I'd never been, but would highly recommend for anyone looking for a place to go.
Did you do any work while you were there?
Very limited emails. So thankful that my team was able to, take over a couple things for me as needed, but was able to unplug. And, it's always nice to have a time difference, so you don't really have to, deal too much with things coming in.
My best vacation was Hawaii because I think we were 6 hours ahead or behind, but it's like you're awake while people are sleeping for the most part.
Exactly. I could catch up at night, a few things, and, it would still be during the day here in the States. So it was great.
So let's go ahead and welcome today's guest. It is Jake Gaddis with Sotheby's International Realty. Before moving into residential real estate full-time, Jake worked for Deloitte in commercial real estate consulting. While there, he was focused with clients on multi-billion-dollar real estate portfolios spanning all across America, with property types ranging from residential to industrial to all points in between. Having been licensed since the age of 18, it was only a matter of time before Jake decided to get out in the real world and work in the sales side of business. Join us as we hear his story of when, why, and how in real estate. Welcome to the podcast, Jake.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Welcome. So if you don't mind, just dive right in and kind of give us your origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I originally grew up on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Family's all still there. Like to get back there as much as I can. And then I went to Virginia Tech for college. I got a degree in finance and real estate. Had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do headed in, but was lucky enough to have a mentor in my parents' real estate agent who told me when I was in high school, why don't you get your real estate license and come work for me? So that's what I did is, turned 18, got the license. And then I worked for her pretty much all through college on the, breaks, summer, winter. And I would do everything from clean out her shed to wash her car to, go and do showings, kind of everything in between. And then she helped me develop what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get into real estate. So I did different internships, did, property management, corporate real estate, a little bit of residential, but not much. And then post-college, I actually moved to Chicago to work for the startup wing of a industrial automation company. It was their artificial intelligence startup. It was sales. It had nothing to do with real estate. It was a place that I had only been one time. And that was pretty much a flop. I was there for about 5 months, and then they came in one day and said, "All right, we've had a good run. Happy Thanksgiving." And that was the end of my time in Chicago.
Was that the end of time with the company as well, or?
Yes. So that wing of the company was dissolved.
Okay.
It was pretty quick. So I had gone out there because that original mentor, her name's Marlene, she had told me, real estate will always be here. It's not going anywhere. Go see the world, go try something new. And frankly, I couldn't get a job in corporate real estate no matter how hard I tried. So after Chicago, I got a really lucky break and, joined the real estate consulting team at Deloitte. And that kind of led me back down the real estate path. While I was at Deloitte, I also became a salesperson by accident. And we talk about ninja a lot at TTR Sotheby's, and that's one of the things. Are you on purpose? Are you on accident? I was absolutely on accident. So I began selling and working at Deloitte until that got to the point that it was just too many hours. As we all know, you really can't effectively do real estate part-time.
Right.
So it was around that time that I was approached by Long & Foster, another brokerage in the Mid-Atlantic, to come on kind of this hybrid role for them, which enabled me to still sell, but also move into this management role. So I did that eventually after a lot of, you know.
Where are you at this time? Are you in DC or outside DC?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm in DC.
Okay.
So when I was with Deloitte, I was working in Tyson's Corner.
Okay.
But I was also, this was pre-COVID, but then moved into COVID a bit. So then I had kind of moved to the beach. So I was living on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, doing that whole COVID
Work from
millennial
home,
thing where I
hybrid.
didn't really live anywhere.
Yeah.
And I had just some really wonderful mentors at the beach who were like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you, work in real estate? And so at that time I was associated with the Sotheby's affiliate on the Eastern Shore. It's where my license was held.
Okay.
So, but then I came back, worked for Long & Foster, one of their Washington, D.C. offices, loved my time there. And then in October of 2022, moved over to TTR Sotheby's International Realty. And here we are today.
Wow. Here we are. So you're 18 years old and you get your real estate license and you're in college. So were you selling it all while you're at Virginia Tech, or you were purely just using that kind of as an internship basis?
I was licensed in Maryland,
Okay.
Where I grew up, and while I was there, I was focusing on really. I hadn't changed my major to real estate until my second or third year because, frankly, it was a brand new major. Real estate was not. You've seen in the last 10 years, I think, the real estate major, the real estate concentration has really grown. But at the time, it was brand new. There were 10 students, I think, in the first graduating class. So mine, I think, was probably 20 or 25.
Just real curious, like what? Because I went to school like way back when, and that's was not there when I was in school. I went to West Virginia University, and I was a finance major as well. My dream was to work on Wall Street as a stockbroker, right? I watched the movie Wall Street, wanted to be like, was it Michael Douglas, that type guy. But anyway, got into real estate. But what does real estate major look like? What is the classwork? Who are the people taking it?
So I doubled with finance and real estate. So I had a lot of overlap in the real estate finance, real estate appraisal classes. There were classes on how to study the market. The capstone class that they do at least at Virginia Tech is a year-long real estate studio class. So you go through the entire process from land acquisition to development. And it really is a cool program because you have to go through, it's kind of a mock real world. So you have to go through the zoning changes. You have to go through getting bids from different builders, doing site plans, all the way to delivery. So they do a really good job of covering, a little bit of everything in the real estate world and kind of opening your eyes to all the different things that exist.
Even on the sales side, I'm just curious.
So there was less sales. What they're doing now is they've divided it into a commercial concentration and a residential concentration. Because you really, if you want to go into residential real estate, you don't need a degree in finance. Right. It helps, I think, but you don't need it. And vice versa. If you want to go and work for JLL and do tenant representation, you really don't need to know how to negotiate a home inspection. So I think dividing it is a really good thing.
Got it. So did most people from that graduating class then go on to work for more of a commercial?
I would say
brokerage?
99%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Interestingly enough, though, now I bet 75% work for, and then there's a group of us that have moved into residential. So it's interesting.
Got it. So from that class.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even I'm just thinking because we get approached all the time by new agents or agents that want to take the exam. And it's like the coursework that you get, like your CE and all that, teaches you nothing on how to be an agent. Right. So I'm curious, does this class teach you the foundation on how just to be a good person, to be a good agent?
Not really. I mean, not how to be a real estate agent. It teaches you, I think, how to analytically look at a market. It taught me exactly how to do my job that I did at Deloitte. It taught me how to go in and look at a large real estate portfolio and be able to have an intelligent conversation with this representative from a corporation and say, listen, this is what we think this part of your portfolio is valued in or valued as. This is what we think you should do with it and why. So it gives you that. It doesn't give you, I think you need a psychology degree to be a real estate agent.
Right.
You need
Licensed therapist.
Yeah, I mean that original mentor I was talking about, Marlene, she has a degree in psychology, and she's an exceptionally successful real estate agent. And she'll tell you, yeah, you need psychology. You need, because you're a therapist, you're a negotiator, a mediator, all those things.
Right.
They need to teach you how to deal with stress too. It's like, as an agent, they don't teach you how to open up the lockbox. The keys aren't there, or the keys are there. It's the wrong key because the agent before put the wrong keys back in the box. It's like little things like that can drive listing agents insane. And also the buyer agent there who's got a client that just flew down from New York City.
Yep.
They're here for the 24 hours to look at these 7 properties, and the keys aren't there.
Yep. And it's
Like,
pouring
this is
rain.
the one. Right. It's pouring rain.
Always. It's always raining. You always forgot the umbrella. Yep.
Yeah.
So going back here to Long and Foster, how long were you at Long and Foster?
I was at Long and Foster for a little over a year. So I went into an interesting situation there where I was one of 3 people managing a combination of offices. So they had put, I believe it was 3 offices together. It was 2 longtime brokers and myself. I was, I think, brought in to be a little bit of the bridge and the new, the new blood, if you will.
Why? That's a tough one.
Why was I brought into that
I'm
role?
just thinking. I guess I'm going back or rewinding. Like, you were working as a realtor, and then you're brought in at Long and Foster to be a manager. Like, why did they select you, or why did you choose to want to go that path?
So, yeah, and that, I'll be honest, in my interviews with them, I asked the same question: why? Why do you want someone who has my experience or lack thereof to come in and be one of the people managing this very large office? It was 220 agents.
And this was the DC office?
This was their Chevy Chase DC.
Okay.
And I think that they believed in my ideas, and I think that they believed in my ability to learn. I think I had the personality or the energy that they were looking for. And frankly, I think it worked. I had a great time. The two women that I was there with are both, longtime DC real estate staples. They both have become friends, since I've left. And why did I go there? A lot of my professional friends thought that I was a little crazy to leave my job at Deloitte that I had, frankly, worked really, really hard to get. In Deloitte, Deloitte's the largest professional services firm in the world. It's not a no-brainer to get a job there. And so to walk away from it was a big decision. But I was not content staring at spreadsheets. I was working crazy hours, and I enjoyed selling so much more. I enjoyed the people. So when this opportunity came up, it was a weird opportunity, and I kind of just thought, you know what? I don't have a family. I don't have anyone relying on me but myself. If I take this job and I absolutely flop, what have I lost? Right. I'll land on my feet. I'll figure it out. And it was the best decision I ever made. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. My sister was with Deloitte for a couple years. She was actually based in Chicago. Now she's here in DC. And I think similarly, she felt that it was just a lot of long hours, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of, PowerPoint, all of that. And so, it was definitely an easy switch, but also, something where you can always go back to that if it doesn't work out.
And it's I think all of those big consulting firms, they're wonderful places to have worked.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily wonderful places to work.
Right.
For someone with my personality type. I
Yes.
like people. I like, talking, interacting.
Right. Yeah.
So real estate was more natural.
Yeah. So how long were you kind of on your own in sales before you took a management position?
So I wasn't really on my own in sales. You could argue in college, but not really.
So you kind of just went
I kind of well, and that was what was appealing, is that I could still sell, and I was at a point where I financially I could have gone full commission, but I just didn't. I like the corporate side of it, and I think that leads into the question a little bit of like why management or why a broker, and it's a question that I get agents ask me all the time. Do you eventually want to be a full-time agent? Do you eventually want to move back into the agent role? And the answer right now is no. I enjoy the corporate element. I enjoy zooming out, to a 30,000 square foot or square foot. There's the real estate. 30,000 foot level, and
Yeah.
looking at the big picture of where my specific office and our company is headed. I enjoy that kind of thing.
Yeah, cool. So I know, Brent, you have your broker's license. What's kind of the process to get your broker's license? I know it's, a lot more studying, a lot more hours. How did that work for you?
So there's experience requirements, and then of course our requirements and testing. So I originally got my license in Maryland, so I got my broker's license in Maryland first. I just personal preference. They also, I think, say that Maryland is the hardest of the three because the disclosure laws are different and a little more intense than especially Virginia. So you have to take a 135-hour class. So I did that, 3 nights a week for 5 hours for 3 or 4 months. And then you take the test, and then you kind of cascade across. So then you apply to DC by reciprocity, and you just apply to Virginia by reciprocity. Or at least that's how I did. I don't know, Brian, if that's...
I've only got DC.
Okay.
So I've got my license in Virginia and Maryland, but I don't have the broker.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, for me, I'm not sure there's a benefit to have the broker license because I'm not opening up my own shop.
Yeah.
Well, and frankly, you don't need it in Maryland. If you have 3 years of experience in Maryland and you take the sales, the supervision class, you really don't need a broker's license. For my job, I need it, but one of those things nice to have.
So you're a broker in all 3 jurisdictions.
So I'm a broker
now?
in Maryland and DC, and Virginia is processing.
Yeah.
Hopefully any day. Virginia still does everything by snail mail, so I've passed the test. I've got everything done.
Any day now.
Any day now, a carrier pigeon will arrive at my door and drop off my broker's license.
So can you tell us some of the first challenges you had as being a manager of a large office at Long & Foster up in Chevy Chase?
The first challenge happens kind of everywhere. The moment I walk in the door, which is, oh, you're a little younger than I thought you'd be. That's the challenge I'm met with, and I'm getting used to it.
Sure.
So I think that's challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 is that I am lucky to work in a place with a lot of really, really, really successful real estate professionals, many of whom have a lot more experience than I do, a lot more years in the field than I do. So it's a challenge sometimes when I'm talking to them or when I'm in a coaching scenario where someone who might have 20 years of experience is coming to me for advice. The thing that gets me through it is that I have a lot of experience with people coming to me with situations. So I think there's kind of 2 ways that you get to a broker, and it's by selling for a long time and then becoming a broker, or you come at it from the corporate route, like some people in our company have, or you come at it from kind of this weird hybrid that I have some sales experience and some corporate experience and put it together, and so far so good. But those I would say are two big challenges.
I could see that. I'm a huge sports fanatic, as most people know, but I'm thinking like you've got some rookie coach. I'm not saying you're a rookie, or a newer coach trying to tell LeBron James like how to play basketball. And it's like, you shut up and dribble. I'm going to go here and do what I do. You stay in your lane and do whatnot. But it's like, how do you overcome like the Michael Jordans or LeBron James agents that think that their egos are up here? I mean, how does that work?
So I think and frankly, this is how I sold myself as a brand new agent, as a, at the time as a 20-year-old agent. Why should you list your house with me?
Yeah.
I bring an entirely different viewpoint than someone who's been doing this for 30 years. I think I have different ideas. In a coaching situation, I ask different questions than a broker of 30 years might. So I think I allow and encourage people to think outside of the box. So when you have someone who's been in this business for 30 years and is wildly successful, there's still things they can learn. I'm learning things from them constantly. I mean, so much of my job right now is learning, taking it all in, having conversations. But I think just that you got to come at everything from a different viewpoint.
Are you getting involved in some of the challenging transactions, so to speak?
Yes. So I'm definitely beginning to get involved with more of the deal doctoring part of the job. And I'm really lucky to have a great support system at TTR in our partners. Fred Kendrick, who was my predecessor, is wonderful with anything. If I don't, that's the other thing. I'm not afraid to admit I don't know the answer.
Mhm.
So if I don't know the answer, I'm going to get you an answer in 10 minutes. Whether it's from Fred, whether it's from Dave DeSantis or Michael Rankin, any of
Mhm.
them, pick up their phones and we'll have the right answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's challenging. It's like I always tell any of our managers or Fred Kinnick, who's a great friend, I'm like, anytime we're calling you, there's an issue. So it's not, it's not good. It's not like, hey, let's go have a
Yeah.
drink at the basketball game or whatever. It's like we're in some sort of a jam and we need your help to get it out. And it's usually I can call one of you guys, or a lot of times it's just calling an attorney to kind of
Mhm.
find out
Mhm.
the way in or out of a deal.
Yeah. And I think it's true with some agents where the only time I hear from them is when there's a problem. But the ones that I see every day, the reason that I do this job is it's so, so, so rewarding to watch someone get their first deal or a deal they've been working really hard on or for a long time. And I'm not talking about new agents. I'm talking about 30-year veterans who come in and they're
Mhm.
so excited because they just got this listing and it's on this street that they've been trying to, control for 20 years and they finally got it. And it just that is what makes me look forward to going to work every day.
That's awesome. How has the transition been from Long and Foster to now TTR Sotheby's?
It's been fantastic. The staff here made it seamless. If have either of you ever switched brokerages?
I have not.
We have not.
Okay, so switching brokerages is not a fun thing to do. It's especially when you work with people that you truly love and respect.
Mhm.
And I had a lot of love and respect for everyone that I worked with at Long and Foster. So leaving there was not an easy decision at all. It was also not something not ever, but it's not something that I plan to do anytime soon.
Right.
So when the opportunity kind of naturally presented itself, it was a big choice to switch. And now that I have, it's been wonderful. I mean, in my opinion, there's no brokerage that's doing it better than we are at TTR Sotheby's.
Plus, you have such a great office there in Georgetown, and
I do.
You've
I
just
do.
renovated it all
Yes,
yourself.
we have a new shiny office, and we have some wonderful agents. We have
Yeah.
a really wide range of experience. We have a super just diverse group, which I really like. Makes the job more fun.
So that's a great question. I mean, is the new office renovation, is that your thumbprint on it? Or that was like before you were coming, it was already in the works?
I'd love to say it was, but it's not. No,
Okay.
it was already in the works, and it's something I think that they've been thinking about doing for years, and then I just kind of arrived when it was time to execute.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting footprint, right? Because
Mhm.
it's the WeWork space. Come in, it's a lounge. We don't have all
Yeah.
these cubes.
Well, and if you've been in that office, for anyone listening, it's a townhouse. It's an
Yeah.
old Georgetown townhouse. It's 4 stories in a basement, so it's long and narrow. It's kind of a funny office space, but it's very cozy. It's
Mhm.
a little chilly, but it's overall it's a good place to work.
It's Georgetown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about life as a broker? Like for us, we get calls around the clock. We just asked Leslie about, is she getting phone calls in her travels across the world? But we try to practice ninja, and we don't always we want to try to put everything in a box, whether it's 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever. But we do work doctor hours where it's like sometimes people call us at 6 a.m., sometimes they'll call us at midnight because it's a stressful situation and it's their biggest asset. You get calls from agents because they're in a jam at 9 o'clock at night and they're just trying to work out a deal, or
Absolutely, and frankly, as much as I would love to live the ninja 9 to 5
Mhm.
life, it doesn't work in my job, and a lot of agents' jobs either. I applaud the ones that it does, but I know that if an agent is calling me at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, they need something and they need it immediately, or they wouldn't be calling.
Right.
Because I do find that agents are very respectful of my time, and I think the other brokers' time. And if they're calling on a weekend or they're calling late at night, it's urgent. So I mean, just this Friday night, I was on the phone with someone at 10:30 at night. It was a multiple offer situation. She was trying to
Wow.
win the offer and ended up winning, which is always great. But she had an important question that needed to be done. The other thing is signing. So when something comes in that needs a broker signature, sometimes it's immediate.
Mhm.
So you do have to stop everything, and this is something that I'm still learning, frankly, how to maintain a work-life balance while docu-signing a listing agreement at a wedding.
Right.
I mean, it's a complicated balance
Yeah.
that happened to me just this weekend of like sitting at the reception going, okay, they have everything right, good,
Yeah,
sign.
great.
Send off.
Thankfully, it can be on your phone.
Yeah,
but
thankfully it's on.
still.
I mean, I don't know how
Yeah.
people did this business
Right.
before it was
Yeah.
all on your phone.
Yeah.
Luckily, I never had to experience it. But
So can you walk us through like a day? Like, what does a day look like for Jake?
so when I started with TTR, Derek Swack said it perfectly. I thought he said people will ask me what I do all day, and I can look at a day with nothing on my calendar, and then the entire day I'm busy. I don't get to sit down one day or one time. And that's a little bit what my day's like. I mean, I'm a morning person, so I try to get to the office early. 8 o'clock is what I consider early, and that's when I get the most done. Honestly, between 8 and 10 is when I get. I'll go through, sky slope listing agreements, kind of do quick little audits here and there of what's going on, and then a lot of my day is spent talking with agents, going to different opens, pricing appointments, doing kind of what's the word, professional development, and not in the same way that we have people assigned to professional development, but just figuring out what we're going to do for the office, socially, what we're going to do, what we're going to talk about at sales meetings, planning different roundtables, events, but a lot of it really is just off the cuff kind of phone calls and support.
Right. Often your day, it seems like, probably isn't fully yours to plan. It's almost, based off of what else is going on around you.
It is, and again, technology makes it wonderful because I mean, I can take calls in the car. I can take Zooms wherever I am. A lot of it I can do remotely, because when you're in the office, and I'm in the office a lot, the pop buys are frequent and wonderful. I mean, my biggest thing right now is trying to bring people back to the office, trying to get in-person events. I know we've had some really wonderful success at sales meetings. We've got 50 to 60 people at every meeting.
Yeah, there was like standing room only the last one.
And
that
I mean, nothing makes my heart happier than seeing an entirely full office. And because I just think it's so much more valuable in person. I think you get so much more from each other. It gives me energy. It gives you energy. So that's what a lot of my time is spent on right now.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? I mean, Inman had a whole segment. I think a couple of different people were talking about that, where even Robert Refkin was up on stage saying that he threw his home office in the trash after the pandemic, that he wants people back in. Synergies are created when one plus one equals 3. But then he also has a lot of large offices that are not inexpensive. And similar to our firm, right? Like these office spaces we have are gorgeous, but they're not cheap. So I understand that it's in your all's best interest to get as many people back. But like it's tough because then you also have the work from home people that they've been trying to do this for decades, to work from home.
So I started my career in an office 5 days a week. Then I went a couple years totally remote. And now I'm back in an office in a suit and tie 5 days a week. And I am probably one of my only friends that I know of that is in an office 5 days a week. I have a lot of friends that have kind of jobs in the professional business world. None of them are in the office 5 days a week.
Right.
I think I enjoy the flexibility and I understand the flexibility of working from home. However, I think there is a direct correlation between 100% remote work and the Great Resignation. It's so much easier from experience to quit a job when you haven't seen your supervisor in person in a year. It's so much easier to lose touch with your colleagues when you haven't seen them in person in X amount of time. I do think that working from home is I think Robert Refkin, his line was like the killer of culture or something like that. I do agree with that. I do think that when you have people entirely remote, you get lonely. I mean, we all experienced that over COVID, where it's like, wow, I haven't seen a person outside of my household in 6 days. And
you maybe haven't gone outside in 6 days.
Exactly.
Even fresh air.
It's like, I'm just walking the dog miles and miles a day. So, I mean, I do think working from the office, well, you know what? I don't think working from the office 40 hours a week, I don't think we're ever back to that.
Yeah.
Because as an agent, you get more done from, I get more done from home.
Mhm.
If I have a meeting at 10 o'clock in Virginia and I start my day at home where I live in Virginia, I get so much more done in those couple hours because I'm not doing the pop-ins.
Yeah.
However, so much of the job is the pop-ins. It's the personal touch.
Mhm.
It's the personal connection. So a lot of my job, to go back to your earlier question, is calling people that I haven't seen in a while, or reaching out or going and meeting them where they are at their listing or their potential listing, just to keep that personal relationship.
Mhm.
Well, for me right now, to build that personal relationship, but then to keep it alive.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting with real estate, residential real estate, being an agent, like, because even before COVID, I think this was one of the jobs where you really were working from home a good amount as well. But, joining the Robin Brent group, the team was very much in the office, and we were one of the only teams that had a presence almost every day in the office. And so I think now it's kind of an interesting shift where I, being in the industry a little bit more, I definitely enjoy being in the office, but I totally work better at home. And almost when I am in the office, it's more like social hour. And I think I've seen that with other people that are popping in and out. And I don't know if there's a solution necessarily to that, because it's kind of like, yeah, if an agent who hasn't been in 2 months now comes in, you're chatting, catching up, but it's like, I was here for a couple hours to actually get work done. And that's the difficult challenge that I'm finding right now.
No, and I think you're totally right.
Yeah.
I don't, when there are 10 people in our office, chances are 10 of them are not working.
Right.
Chances are, 2 of them are working and the rest are catching up. And
Yeah.
packing a normal week of small talk into 20 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
It's like the office in general has become the water cooler.
Yes,
It's
no,
like
actually,
go to
that's
the
a
office,
great
you
analogy.
Rub
Yes.
shoulders,
Right.
and it's like, hey, here's what we're doing. I'm similar, so I try to get to the office early because not many people are in the office by 8.
Yeah.
11 o'clock, people start to trickle in. I say my highs, my goodbyes, and I'm out the door, and then I get more work done, like you guys at home, or I'm most effective at home when I can zero in and there's nobody else. There's no screaming kids. They're at school.
Mhm.
Wife's doing her work, and I can just focus on
Yeah.
whatever tasks in front of me.
Well, and I think at the beginning of COVID and everyone kind of was sent home,
Mhm.
there were more distractions at home because you were distracted by the kids, the spouse, the TV, whatever. Now that it's been a few years, I think we've all figured out, I think it's almost the opposite now, where like we're saying, I can block everything out at home. Now I don't have children. I imagine they're harder to block out, but I can block out all the other distractions at home, where at the office, I can't block them out.
Yeah.
So, give and take.
There was, I don't know if you guys went to the Jerry Seinfeld show,
Oh,
but he
no.
made that reference. It was like, usually people work from home. You go to work to get away from the work at home. It's like someone's telling you to take out the trash, walk the dog, kids are screaming, put the groceries away, but there's always someone telling you what to do. You go to the office so you can kind of zone out.
Yeah.
Sit at your own cubicle. Someone's going to come and clean up after you, and you can like space out, surf the net if you're allowed to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And
Totally.
we've got big TVs in the office.
Right.
We've got, I love when I walk in and you've got someone like airplaying their phone to the TV just so they can see it bigger. They can see it. Like, I'm like, okay, that's why you came in today.
Yeah,
That's great. That's a great reason to come in.
That's funny.
We're speaking with Jake Gaddis with TTR Sotheby's International Realtor. He is the broker of the Georgetown office. Pivoting a little bit here to recruitment. Are you in charge of recruitment, and what does that look like for you? And for agents that are listening that aren't part of our affiliation, like, what are you looking for?
Our recruitment strategy is definitely the team approach, but it's not necessarily what you think of when you think of recruiting. We're not sitting around calling agents. We really try to match up agents who we think would be a good fit with our brand, agents who we think that we can help improve their business, and agents who feel that mutually. They want to come work with us. They want to work with our agents, with our management. So it really is kind of team network based.
So you have a finance degree from Virginia Tech, so we know you're a numbers guy. I'm going to set this up for you, but
Okay.
What is your take on the overall market conditions? You've run our sales meetings. You're diving into the numbers. You've talked about the correlation with what's coming down the pipe with Amazon and the downtown, with what Mayor Bauer's trying to do in quarter territory. Can you kind of give us your eagle-eye view on what's going on in the market?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot going on in the market right now. It, of course, was pretty much dead for November, December, and the first half of January, and now suddenly we've got all kinds of multiple offer situations. Inventory is still low. I think it depends a lot on price point and type. I mean, when you've got something that comes on the market that is well priced between 1 and 2.5 million in a neighborhood that people are looking, it appears to sell overnight with multiple offers, just how we saw in 2021. When you talk about what's happening regionally or locally and regionally, you've got a couple different things going on. The first being these initiatives that are coming from the mayor's office, like we spoke about at our meeting in mid-February, which is the downtown corridor as people work from home more. The largest office space holder in the Penn Quarter area is the federal government. So as federal government workers continue to work from home, the argument that the city is making is turn over that square footage, let us convert it into residential space. Let's try to increase, and I don't fact check me on these numbers, but I believe right now the population of that downtown zone is 25,000. They want to grow it to 87,000 or 89, one of those numbers. So they're talking about doing that with office space, by converting office space. And something I think maybe, Brent, I've heard you say it, a lot of these office buildings are not built to become residential dwellings. They don't have the infrastructure for it. So it'll be really interesting and really expensive to watch all of that happen. Northern Virginia is a little more interesting to me because it's really happening right now. It's not a theory or something that a government is planning to do. You've got Amazon headquarters coming in. Amazon is bringing back their employees, I believe, 3 days a week in May. So we're going to see that whole Amazon HQ2 area become a lot busier. And something that we discussed at the beginning of the year was this sprawl that they saw in Seattle when Amazon set up their headquarters there. You saw all these other smaller but still huge tech companies form around them. So what the JBG Smith is developing that whole area. What they're predicting is going to happen is the same thing in Seattle, where they've built this humongous, beautiful Amazon headquarters, and now you're going to see all these other tech giants begin to arrive in town. I mean, Boeing just moved, I believe, last year. Boeing relocated to that same exact area, Pentagon City, Crystal City, which I believe they're rebranding as National Landing now to make it sound a little more fancy. But yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of change over the next couple of years, which is nothing new to this region.
Yeah, that's impressive. Have either one of you guys been through National Landing? Like our go-to movie theater is the Alamo right there in National Landing, Crystal City. But it's impressive what JBG has done with those buildings.
So I actually was lucky enough to be able to take a tour of the HQ2 site, and then also kind of all of JBG Smith's development in that area, as well as Potomac Yards, where Virginia Tech is building an innovation campus. So I sit on an alumni board for the business school, so we got the opportunity to kind of run through all that. I mean, wildly impressive. They're putting in, like 8,000 new units are under development in that area right now. They're trying to bury the highway, so they're trying to move the highway underground.
Which highway, like Route 1?
Yeah, Route 1 that runs right through Crystal City, Pentagon City. The long-term plan is to move that underground. So, I mean, it's really interesting. They want it to be this live, work, play community with the Pentagon right there. It's really interesting.
I laugh. I mean, I moved to Pentagon City. It was the first place I lived in the DC area. It was in 2014, and I was working at the DoubleTree Crystal City, which is the place with the like UFO looking restaurant at the top. And I mean, that was one of the tallest buildings there. And now, you're driving, I guess it's, on the highway Route 1, and you can't even pick that out from everything else that has come around there. And so, I mean, it's really incredible what's happened in, under 10 years.
And it's really interesting. I mean, if you're listening and have not driven through, it really is. I mean, I wouldn't suggest going to the Costco over there. It's got like a 6-story parking garage. It's a nightmare. You got to pay for parking. It's a mess.
That parking
traffic
garage
jams.
is a nightmare.
No, there's nothing worse than the Costco parking lot in Pentagon City. But yeah, I don't know. It's cool what's going on.
It
over
really
there.
is.
And I think it's important for people in the industry to watch,
Yeah.
because I mean, you're going to have 25,000 people are going to work in that Amazon
Right.
headquarters alone. That's 25,000 well-paid people,
Yeah.
mostly between the age of 25 and 45. So it is an interesting demographic to watch for a
Yeah.
real estate agent or for a property owner in that area.
Totally. Well, and I mean, I've definitely seen it with, people reaching out for various rentals and properties that are coming from the Seattle area, and they're not necessarily working just for Amazon, but it's, tech companies, other companies that are starting to have their headquarters here in DC, really because of, my thought is really what Amazon is bringing to the area.
Yeah.
So.
I just have two more questions. You've mentioned a lot here. You've had a mentor in Marlene. Do you have a mentee that you're working with? Someone from your school or even high school?
I think I may without knowing it. I mean, I never asked Marlene to be my mentor. I've had kind of 3 real estate mentors. I never asked any of them. It just became naturally that way.
Right.
So I think it's possible that I do, and I might not even
know it.
realize it.
You have
Yeah,
somebody shadowing
I
you?
hope I
Yeah.
do, and I don't realize it.
I'm sure, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of an organic. Is how I see the mentorship relationship.
And then it's only a short time here, but if you went back to like age 18, what would you tell your little self at age 18 that you would do differently?
I don't know that I would have changed much professionally. I'm really proud of myself professionally. I'm really confident in myself. I think I would have leaned in a little bit sooner. I think I would have leaned into being myself, not only in the real estate world, but personally sooner. But I don't know. Everyone needs a little struggle. Get you to where you are.
Right.
Leslie, have you another question?
I don't. No, this has been great. It's been a fun conversation.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me. This has been a great way to start the day.
Jake, anything else you want to discuss before we go into rapid fire and word association?
No, I think you guys covered it all.
We'll start with word association. Leslie's going to fire a couple words at you. First thing that comes to mind.
All right. Ready?
Ready.
Real estate.
People,
Washington, D.C.
monuments,
Neighborhood.
Logan Circle,
And podcast.
keyed in.
Perfect.
Rapid fire. You ready?
Okay.
What is your food kryptonite?
Pizza, specifically when you haven't eaten lunch until 3:00 in Georgetown. 90-second pizza is my guilty pleasure pizza spot in
Oh my
Georgetown.
gosh. They're always giving out free samples on the
Uh-huh, yep,
street. Yeah.
Yep. Hole in the wall.
What is the 90 seconds? Like you get it in 90 seconds? or?
In theory, it's not actually 90 seconds, but it's a couple minutes. It's pretty fast. It's this little tiny hole
Yeah.
in the wall in Wisconsin, in Georgetown. You can always, if you're there at 3:00 on any given day, possibly I'm eating upstairs, looking out the window
Awesome.
with some of our colleagues who I won't call out. But.
That's awesome.
What are you binge watching right now?
So, reality TV is my guilty pleasure. I am currently binge watching Love Island UK,
Wow.
as well as I just finished The White Lotus.
Awesome.
White Lotus was great, and Rob would love you for watching the other show you mentioned.
Love-
Something about Love Island.
Yes. Yes.
I haven't gotten into that one yet, but I feel like it's on the list.
I'm a true supporter of
Yeah.
Love Island TV. It used to be my guilty pleasure, and now
That's-
I'm out and proud with it.
That's
But it's hard to keep up with. They come
Yeah.
out every day.
Right.
Every
That's
day?
There are like 70 episodes in a
Mhm.
season.
Wow.
They come out every single day.
That's a
Yes.
lot.
and it's like they're filming it as it's
Every day. They film everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is the Jim Carrey movie?
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. It's like
Oh, I
the
haven't seen
Truman
that.
Show.
But it's, I mean, and it's also pretty much, it's almost live. I mean, they're there as we speak.
Right.
Right.
Really,
Wow,
it's
that's crazy.
exciting.
Crazy.
What is your go-to source for all real estate news?
So I don't have one. I'm a big supporter of reading everything. I think if you're gonna read Fox, you need to read CNN and NBC and ABC. So I do. I like Inman. I like the Washington Business Journal. I like Yahoo Finance. I like Urban Turf. I try to read. I browse LinkedIn a lot. I try to see what our agents are posting and read a lot of that as well.
Okay. What do you do outside of real estate? What is your hobby?
So, growing up on the water, that is my preference to be on the water when I'm not working. In the summer, I'm pretty much always on the Eastern Shore, on the boat, at the beach. And then this time of year, just, trying to see family. I love to travel.
Anywhere fun? Where's your favorite travel place?
My favorite travel place. What a good question. I love San Diego. I think consistently, and this isn't a super glorious one, but growing up, we would always go to the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
Yeah.
We still do every single October. We go and spend a week there with a bunch of family friends and get one of those big houses, and it's my favorite week of the year every year.
October. How's the water?
Really warm.
In October?
Yep. So
Wow.
it changes. It turns like mid-October, but we always went. I think we always went honestly because you got the off-season rate,
Right.
And we would rent one of those 8 or 9 bedroom houses. But now I'm like, wow, well, it's quieter and the water's warmer. So yeah, we've always gone the first week in October.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Last question here. Who would play you in a movie?
That is such a good question. God, we were talking about this one before I left the office, and we couldn't come up with an answer. So I may have to do another. I may have to.
Oh, okay,
another
I've got it. Who is the guy that played opposite of Tom Hanks in Maverick? A little bit.
Oh,
of it.
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller.
Thank you.
Yes.
That is a wonderful compliment. I will take it. I'll do Miles Teller. Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Jake, thank you. As a token of our gift for coming onto the show, we like to give a shout out to a charity of your choice. Do you want to give a shout out to anyone today?
Sure. So there is a charity. It's called the Children's Focus Foundation, and it helps underprivileged youth in the DC area they do a multitude of things, from helping people who suffer from substance abuse. The part that I've worked with them before, though, is the professional development. So they'll help someone who's a teen get the training that they need to go into whatever profession it is, whether it's real estate, whether it's they want to be a plumber. It's a really cool organization.
That's
Awesome.
great.
Yeah.
Jake, thank you. You're very well spoken. You're very educated. The firm is proud to have you. So I can see the passion that you have about your job. So I'm sure everyone in Georgetown is ecstatic to have you as their broker. So welcome to the firm. And first time I've actually had a good conversation with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at KeyedInPodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.